What's up, YouTube? The Adequate Gamer here, and welcome to my quick little review on the V8 sound card. Now, I know it's a sound board, but for some reason they call it a sound card. And I want to give my impressions on this particular board because I know a lot of people are interested in what this thing does. I use it while I do my Twitch streaming. I've had people ask about it. And I know there's videos about this board on YouTube, but some of them are missing the information that I want to pass on to you. So if you're thinking of getting this board, I know there are different variations in look. Some of them have different looking buttons, but they pretty much do the exact same thing. So we're going to try to fly through this real quick and talk about some of the things that this board does and doesn't have to offer. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the fact that it does have a battery in it. It is battery operated, not battery operated. It can be battery operated. Let's just say that. I keep it plugged in all the time because there's no sure way to know if the battery is going to die on you. And the last thing you want in the middle of, say, like a 6-hour stream is the battery to die on you. So I always keep it plugged in here. Now the back I can't show you because everything's plugged in. I wish I could, but I can't really flip it around. But it has an input for a dynamic mic. It has an input for what I'm currently using right now is the newer 800 condenser mic. I have that plugged in right here. Before we go any further, the one thing I do want to mention that this board does have, which is really, really nice, the chipset does have a bit of noise suppression on it. The newer 800 mic on its own does have a nasty hiss to it, but this board actually eliminates a lot of it. And just for that alone is almost worth the price of admission, which, by the way, was about $25 I got it shipped from Hong Kong. So yeah, that's why some of the wording on it as well is a little bit weird. You just have to figure out what it is exactly. It has two outputs on it, which is great. One goes to the computer because I have the mic goes into this, and then this goes into the microphone port on the computer. Anything that passes through this gets put into the mic input on the computer. Two outputs, which means if you want, you can also plug in a headset if you wanted somebody else to listen in on what the board sounds like, things like that. And then it has 3 other inputs for adding in, if you wanted to add in another source for music or something like that, you can do that with these cables that they provide, which have a micro USB on one end and it's almost like a headphone jack or headset jack, actually, because it's got all the pieces on it there for that. Now, I don't really use that, but it's an option there, and it's nice to have that there. So let's have a look at the top of the unit. We have the 2 big knobs at the top here. One is a mic, and one is it says echo, but it's reverb. Reverb is not the same as echo, but it's just on there probably for a translation issue, blah, blah, blah. You're going to notice that the microphone is turned up all the way to the top, and that is because I want the microphone to be the main sound coming out of this unit. This unit has a lot of sound effects that are built in, and if you don't have the microphone maxed up, sometimes the sound effects will be too loud. In fact, louder than the microphone. So I keep this all the way up, and then over here you have the monitor, which gives you that adjustment mix between the two. So you can see here I have it turned up, but if I turn this down, I get really quiet. So that is basically the master mix for the entire thing. This is your master volume right here. You have treble, you have bass if you want to add yourself a little bit of a boomier voice, which is great to have. And then these 2 are for mixing the other inputs. If you have music coming in from an iPod and you want it to just be background music, you're only going to have it turned up just a little bit. Or if you're throwing a big party and you want to crank it up for everyone to hear, you have that option as well. Again, we have the sound effects down at the bottom here. There's only a couple that I might use, but I don't really use them at all. I find when you're streaming, this stuff is just kind of fluff that nobody really wants to hear. But just for an example, we've got like laughter or maybe applause. Now, if you hear it might be a bit quiet, you can adjust that by turning up the monitor and turning down the mic. But that's the level that I like to have it as. I'm not going to play all of them because most of these sound effects are pretty crap. Sometimes I like to use the crows. If somebody tells a joke that doesn't work, or if you want to have somebody boo you, there you go. There's also like, I don't know, samples of music on a couple of these buttons, and I don't want to press them because I might have copyright issues and things like that. But for the most part, I don't use these. So what I mainly use is for the sound, the audio suppression, like the noise suppression. There we go, the reverb. The reverb I use for my character when I'm playing a game, if I want to go inside of his own head and he's thinking out loud so the people watching can hear what he's thinking, I use the reverb for that. I only suggest using it for touch. You don't want to overdo this stuff. That is for sure. A lot of this stuff you're going to want to overuse at first. Don't, because people just don't really want to hear that much of it at all. Okay, so that is what's good about this board. And I noticed, you may have noticed that I haven't talked about the voice changing stuff that's included in this yet. And that's because that is where this unit has its downfall. The voice changing in this unit is almost great, but there's some things that are holding it back. Mainly that, I'll give you an example. So this button here is supposed to make you sound like you're talking on the radio. It's an MC button. First of all, it doesn't work. Second of all, when you do press any of these voice changing buttons, listen to what you hear. You hear that really loud audible click? That happens every single time you hit one of these buttons, especially if you're using a condenser mic. No matter what, you're going to hear it. And imagine streaming, and every time your character was changing his voice, you heard this click. That's no good to anyone. That's really, really loud, and it's very, very disrupting. So you don't want to use that. So this thing is pretty good at doing voice changes. Unfortunately, unless you are going to edit it later, using it live, broadcasting on the fly, it's crap. And I'll show you why. So the first one's like an auto-tune thing, which actually sounds really good, but unfortunately, first of all, you get that click. Second of all, you get this little audible voice that tells you what effect you're putting on.
A major.
So there you go. Now my voice has changed to like some kind of auto-tune. And it's a really cool effect, but what good is it if you hear that click and that voice telling you what it is every time you hit the button? Check it out.
Voice. For male voice.
There we go. My voice has changed again, but once again, we've got the click in that voice. What good is that if you're going to be broadcasting with it?
Voice.
It's no good for anyone. It really isn't.
That click, you just can't get away from it. It's awful. So yeah. So what I recommend from this board is if you're using it for what I'm using for, the noise suppression, again, is almost worth the price of admission alone. I love the fact that you can do reverb on it if you want to add an inner monologue to your character. The bass, the treble, all that stuff you're able to change. Now, if you're using OBS, yes, you can use the internals to change your voice, but that's only for the stream. If you're playing a game where your characters are talking in-game and you want to have a boomier voice for that character, you need something attached to the microphone, and that's where these come in handy. So there, I want you to take away from that what you will. It's a decent card if it does the things that I recommend, like the reverb, noise suppression, these things here. Anything with a knob seems to work very well. A couple of sound effects, they work, but they're kind of crap. Like when are you going to use this? If you want to use it, great, but otherwise, and a lot of reason why people are looking into this board is for the voice changing. And while the effect when it's in place is great, turning on the effect with the click in the voice, it just makes this thing, unfortunately, not really worth it if that's what you're looking for. So I do not recommend this board at all if you're looking to get it for the voice change. But other than that, for the price that I paid for it, I'm happy enough with the noise suppression, and the reverb on it is cool too. But anyway, that is my quick little view on the V8 sound card. Thanks for watching, and hopefully this video was informational, or give you information, whatever. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up if you did like this video, if it was helpful. It really does help. And we will see you on YouTube. Cheers.